Welcome to Fresh Talk English. This is the place where you can learn English easily. Relax, listen carefully, and repeat with us. Let's learn English together. Today, we're tackling something really practical. We got our hands on this fantastic resource. Basically, it's an English conversation guide all about ordering food in a restaurant.
Yeah, it's quite comprehensive. And what's really striking is how it breaks down, a potentially stressful situation into clear, manageable steps. It's more than just a phrase book.
Exactly. It's like a blueprint for success in one of those everyday situations that, let's be honest, can cause a lot of anxiety if English isn't your first language.
Right. The fear often isn't just about not knowing one word, it's about not knowing the sequence, the social script you're supposed to follow. This guide really lays that out.
So our mission today is to really dive into this. We're not just going to read the phrases out loud. We want to unpack the logic behind them, understand why certain phrases are used, the social context, and figure out how using this structure helps you sound, well, not just understandable, but confident and polite, crucially.
That politeness piece is huge, as we'll see. And for you listening, the real benefit here is getting a shortcut to mastering this common scenario. Like I said, the guide splits the whole dining thing into logical chunks.
Yeah, what were they? Arrival and greeting,
Right. Then menu, ordering, during the meal.
and finally the bill. 5 steps.
Exactly. And knowing these steps helps you organize the language in your head. You know what kind of phrases you'll need when. It stops that feeling of being totally overwhelmed.
And hopefully we'll uncover some of those aha moments along the way.
Yeah.
Insights into cultural norms, like why politeness matters so much,
Mhm.
or the whole deal with tipping in, say, the U.S.
Yeah, that's a big one. It's really about linguistic efficiency, isn't it? How to get what you need, a good meal, good service smoothly,
Yeah.
using the right language, while, sticking to the unwritten rules of interaction and that kind of service setting.
Okay, sounds like a plan. Let's get started with phase 1, arrival and seating. All right, phase 1, arrival. You walk through the door. This first interaction, it really sets the tone for everything else, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. It's your first impression and the restaurant's first impression of you. Get this right, and you're off to a good start.
So the guide points out the first thing that usually happens. The host or waiter needs to know how many people need a table. It's all about efficiency for them at this stage.
Yep, the template is super clear. Waiter asks, how many people?
And the response the guy gives is beautiful in its simplicity. 2, please. Just the number and a crucial word, please.
That please is doing so much work there. It immediately signals politeness, respect. It sets that positive tone we talked about. It's like, linguistic insurance.
It really is. And it shows that often in English, especially in these transactional settings, simple and direct plus politeness is the winning formula. No need for complicated sentences.
Exactly. 2, please. Clear, polite, done.
Okay, so after the head count, the guide moves to location preference. The example is, would you like to sit inside or outside?
Right. And this is where the customer starts to get a bit of control, a bit of agency over their experience.
And notice the phrasing, would you like to? That's quite formal, very polite way of offering a choice.
Definitely. It's using a modal verb, would, to make it softer, more deferential. The learner should recognize this as a standard polite offer, and the response matches that politeness. Outside, please.
Now, what if you want to be proactive? The guy gives us this phrase, a table for 2, please. Why is that one so effective?
Well, it anticipates the waiter's question, doesn't it? You're stating your need up front. It shows you're prepared, you know what you want.
Yeah, it comes across as confident, assertive, maybe, but still polite because of the please.
It's efficient. You're giving them the key information right away.
And that efficiency continues if you have a specific request, like wanting a particular spot. The example is, can we sit by the window? Let's talk about using can here.
Right. Can technically asks about ability or permission, but here it softens the request. It's like asking, is it possible for us to sit there, not demanding it?
So you're checking feasibility, respecting that maybe that table is reserved or not available. It avoids putting the waiter on the spot if the answer is no.
Precisely. It builds in that possibility of refusal while keeping things polite. Very strategic, actually.
And the last scenario in this section is handling uncertainty. Maybe the restaurant's busy, no one's greeted you yet. The guide suggests, do you have a table available?
Again, very respectful. It acknowledges the restaurant might be full. Instead of just, standing there looking lost, it empowers the learner to politely ask for an update. It shows you understand their situation.
So pulling all these arrival phrases together, the head count, the location preference, the specific request, checking availability, what's the main takeaway for a learner about this initial interaction?
I think the core lesson is about balancing directness with politeness. You need to be clear about what you need, how many people, where you'd like to sit. That's the functional directness.
Right. But you have to wrap it in politeness.
Yeah.
Using please, using those softer modal verbs like can, or responding appropriately to would, get that balance right, and you establish trust. You set the interaction flowing smoothly right from the start.
Makes sense. Directness plus politeness equals a good beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we're in. We've got our table by the window. Now comes phase two, the menu. And honestly, this is where I think a lot of learners can feel, well, intimidated.
Oh, absolutely. Menus can be tricky. You've got regional dishes, fancy cooking terms, ingredients you've never heard of.
Mhm.
It really can feel like a vocabulary minefield.
So the first step, according to the guide, is getting control of the menu itself. The phrase is simple. Can I see the menu, please?
Straightforward. Signals you're ready to look, but again, the can I and please get it polite.
And there's an important little note in the guide here. Take your time to read it. Why is that reminder significant? It's giving the learner permission, really. It's saying it's okay, it's actually expected, that you'll take a few minutes to look things over. You don't need to feel rushed. The waiter understands this. They'll usually step away and come back.
Right. It normalizes that pause for consideration. Okay. So after you've had a look, the guide moves into what it calls active engagement. Two key areas: asking for recommendations and dealing with dietary needs.
Yes, both super useful. Let's start with recommendations. The phrase is, what do you recommend?
I love this phrase. It feels powerful in a way.
It is, because it does a few things at once. First, you're engaging the waiter, showing you value their opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Second, you're tapping into their expertise. They often know the specials, what's freshest, what's popular. And third, it can actually reduce your own anxiety if you're feeling overwhelmed by the choices. Let them suggest something.
It shifts the dynamic a bit, makes it more of a conversation.
Yeah.
Okay, now the other side, dietary needs. This is crucial. We have the standard, do you have vegetarian options? Pretty common nowadays.
Right.
But then there's the allergy statement. I'm allergic to nuts. The guide stresses being direct here. Why is that so important?
This is where clarity trumps everything else, even elaborate politeness. An allergy isn't a preference, it's a potential health emergency.
Right.
So the language needs to be unambiguous. I'm allergic to nuts, period. Adding lots of could you possibly check if, or other softening phrases might actually dilute the urgency or create confusion.
So in the U.S. context especially, with liability concerns, the staff needs to hear that statement clearly and immediately so they can take the necessary precautions, check ingredients, talk to the kitchen.
Exactly. For severe allergies, directness is the clearest and safest form of communication. The learner needs to understand that priority.
That's a really important structural insight. Okay, so navigating the menu minefield. What if you just hit a word you don't know, like remoulade or something?
Yeah, happens all the time. The guide gives you tools for this, the crucial clarification tip. It basically says it's perfectly okay to ask, don't guess.
And it breaks down the types of clarification you might need. First one, defining an item. Example. What does coleslaw mean?
Simple semantic question. You're asking for a definition of a word, could be an ingredient, a side dish, anything. The waiter becomes your temporary dictionary. It isolates the specific point of confusion.
Makes sense. The second type of clarification is about how something is made. How is this dish cooked? Why is this one so valuable?
Oh, hugely valuable. Is it fried, grilled, baked, steamed? This tells you so much about the taste, the texture, maybe the healthiness.
Yeah, if you're trying to avoid fried food, or if you need gluten-free and want to know if something is breaded.
Exactly. Asking how it's cooked gives you crucial information to make a choice you'll be happy with. It avoids that horrible moment where the food arrives and it's not what you expected at all.
So the big takeaway from this section is, don't be afraid to ask. Asking for recommendations, stating allergies directly, and clarifying unknown terms or cooking methods are all perfectly acceptable and, frankly, expected parts of ordering. It empowers the learner.
Absolutely. It's about taking control of the information you need to make a good choice.
All right, we've studied the menu, asked our questions, maybe got a recommendation. Now it's phase 3, making the commitment, placing the order.
This is the moment of truth, you could say. The waiter usually signals this shift with a clear question, like the guide says, are you ready to order?
And your response needs to be just as clear. The guide provides the gold standard, simplest structure. Yes, I'll have the chicken sandwich, please.
Let's really break down that I'll have bit. I'll is short for I will.
hmm
Why is this verb choice so effective here?
It sounds decisive, doesn't it? Using will like this, in this context, isn't really about predicting the future. It's stating your intention firmly.
Exactly. It signals this is my choice, this is what I want. It projects confidence. There's no hesitation implied.
Now, the guide contrasts this slightly with another common phrase learners might use. Can I get? Is that one okay too?
Oh, totally. Okay, everyone will understand. Can I get the chicken sandwich, please? But can inherently asks for permission or possibility. So it feels a little softer, more tentative, maybe.
Yeah, like you're checking if it's all right to order it.
Right. Whereas I'll have assumes it's all right. It's subtly more assertive. For a learner, can I get might feel safer if they're nervous, but I'll have is often preferred by native speakers in casual settings because it's quicker, more definite. The guide nudges towards I'll have, perhaps to build that confidence.
Interesting distinction. Okay, what about ordering multiple things, like an appetizer and a main course?
The guide gives us a great little structural phrase for that. For the main course, I'll take.
Ah, so you're signposting. You're helping the waiter organize the order.
Precisely. If you just said, I'll have the soup, I'll have the steak, it's clear, but adding for my appetizer or for the main course helps categorize it mentally for the waiter and ensures it goes to the kitchen in the right sequence. It's about clear communication structure.
Makes sense. Now, another key part of ordering is customization. Sometimes you need to tweak a dish slightly. The example phrase is, can I have it without onions?
Super practical phrase. This structure, can I have it without ingredient or can I get item on the side, is incredibly flexible.
Yeah, dressing on the side, no cheese, extra pickles. It all fits.
And it shows the learner that they don't always have to accept the dish exactly as described. Within reason, you can often request modifications. It gives you more control over your meal.
That's really empowering, I think. Learners might assume they can't ask for changes.
Right. And finally, in this ordering phase, we have drinks. The waiter asks the standard, would you like something to drink?
And the basic polite response, a glass of water, please?
And notice, even for something as simple as water, the politeness rule holds. Please, it's constant. Whether it's a fancy steak or just tap water, that respectful structure remains.
Yeah, that consistency is really hammered home.
Yeah.
Clarity plus politeness every single time.
Okay, so the order is in, the food has arrived. Now we move into what the guide calls during the meal. This phase is interesting because it's less about the initial transaction and more about, well, managing things once the meal is underway. And this can be socially tricky for learners.
Yeah, like how do you get the waiter's attention if you need something without being rude? Interrupting someone who's busy can feel awkward in any culture, right?
Definitely. And politeness rules are paramount here. The guide gives one absolute non-negotiable starting point for any mid-meal request.
Which is,
Excuse me. Yeah, you have to start with, excuse me. It's the universal signal in English for, I need your attention for a moment, please, when you have a second.
right, you wouldn't just yell waiter or
Yeah.
start talking at their back. You say, excuse me, make eye contact, wait for them to acknowledge you, then make your request. It's a crucial buffer.
Absolutely crucial. Once you have their attention, the guide gives examples for common needs, and we see that familiar structure again for simple things like refills. Can I have some more water?
Or supplies. Can I get some extra napkins? Using can I have or can I get, which we saw in ordering polite, asks about possibility.
Right, but then look at the example for asking for a condiment. Could you please bring me some ketchup? Notice the shift from can to could.
Ah, okay. Why could? Is it just more polite?
Generally, yes. In English requests, using could, the past tense of can, often makes the request sound a bit softer, more deferential, more polite than just using can.
So maybe because ketchup isn't essential like water or napkins, asking for it requires a slightly higher level of politeness, like you're imposing a tiny bit more.
That's a good way to think about it. It's subtle, isn't it? But it shows a nuanced understanding of politeness levels. Could you please? Just adds that extra layer of deference.
Interesting detail. Okay, what else happens during the meal? Ah, feedback. The waiter might come by and ask, how is everything?
Yes, the check back. And the recommended response is positive and polite. Everything is delicious, thank you.
Even if it's just,
Huh. Well, unless there's a genuine problem you need to address. A simple, positive affirmation like this keeps the interaction smooth and pleasant. It confirms everything is okay.
Got it. And all of this leads us to what the guide calls the politeness tip, which feels like the core message of this whole resource, really.
It really does. The explicit instruction, always use please and thank you. Always.
Let's talk about that. Why is this emphasized so heavily in English-speaking restaurants, particularly, say, in North America?
Yeah.
It feels like more than just good manners.
It functions almost like social currency or that linguistic insurance we mentioned. If you're a learner, maybe your grammar isn't perfect, maybe your pronunciation is a bit tricky, maybe you're a bit slow ordering.
Hmm.
Consistently using please and thank you signals that you are trying to be respectful according to the local norms. It buys you goodwill and patience from the server.
So even if the language itself isn't flawless, the politeness covers a multitude of sins, so to speak.
Exactly. It shows you understand the unspoken rules of the service interaction. It's transactional, yes, you're paying for a service, but the interaction runs on mutual respect. And in this context, please and thank you are the primary signals of that respect. Nailing this is almost more important than nailing the verb tenses.
Wow. Okay. Politeness as the ultimate communication hack.
Hmm.
Okay. We've eaten, we've managed refills politely, we've said everything was delicious. Now we get to phase 5, wrapping things up, paying the bill.
The final hurdle. And this involves not just specific phrases, but also navigating that often tricky cultural element, tipping.
Right. So first things first, you need to signal you're ready to pay. The guide gives us the phrase, "Could I have the bill, please?"
And there's that polite, could I have? Again, consistent deference right to the end. And of course, please.
But wait, the guide also mentions later in the vocabulary section both bill and check. What's the deal with that? Are they interchangeable?
Mostly, but there's a regional nuance. In the United States, check is far more common in restaurants. Asking for the check sounds more natural to American ears.
Okay.
Whereas in the UK, Canada, Australia, other places, bill is the standard term. So if you ask for the bill in the US, they'll know what you mean, but check is the more typical word.
Good to know. Little point of fluency there. So the bill, or check, arrives. What's next? Payment logistics.
The guide gives 2 essential questions here. First, can I pay by card?
Crucial, especially nowadays. You need to know if they accept cards or if it's cash only before you get stuck.
Absolutely. And the second question is vital for international travelers. Is service included?
Because in some countries, a service charge is automatically added to the bill, right?
Exactly. In many parts of Europe, for instance, asking this question clarifies whether a tip is expected on top of the bill or if it's already built in, prevents awkward double tipping or under tipping.
Okay, and that leads us straight into the tipping culture deep dive. The guide is very clear. In the US, it's normal to give a tip, and it even gives a range, 10–20%.
We really need to emphasize this for the US context. Tipping isn't just a nice extra there. For many servers, it's the bulk of their income. They often receive a lower base wage with the legal expectation that tips will make up the difference.
So it's not really optional in that sense. It's part of the social contract of dining out.
Pretty much. And that 10–20% range isn't arbitrary either. It communicates something about your perception of the service.
How so?
Well, generally speaking, 10% might signal the service was just okay, maybe even a bit subpar. 15% is often seen as the standard for decent, average service. And 20% or more is usually for service you felt was really good, attentive, went above and beyond.
So the amount you tip is actually a form of feedback, completing that loop we talked about.
It absolutely is. You're evaluating the entire service experience with that percentage.
And if you're paying with cash and the change isn't the exact tip amount you want to leave,
The guide gives the simple, clear phrase, keep the change. This tells the waiter the transaction is finished, and whatever cash is left over is their tip. No ambiguity.
okay, so this whole final phase concerns that the interaction is deeply transactional, and the server's role is valued and compensated based directly on how well they managed that interaction, which circles back to why all that politeness throughout the meal is so important.
Exactly. It's all interconnected. Good service, facilitated by clear and polite communication, leads to the expected financial conclusion.
All right, we've walked through all 5 phases, from walking in the door to paying the bill. Now, the guide kind of zooms out to reinforce the whole structure with key vocabulary and a full example conversation.
Yeah, pulls it all together. The vocabulary list acts like a quick reference for the main building blocks of the restaurant experience.
Let's quickly run through them, thinking about how they frame the meal. We start with the menu, obviously the list of food and drinks. That's your starting point.
Then the food itself, chronologically. You've got the appetizer, that small dish before the main event, sets the stage.
Then the star of the show, the main course, the central dish.
Followed by dessert, the sweet ending. These three appetizer, main course, dessert map out the typical progression of a full meal.
Then the people involved.
Yeah.
Waiter, waitress, the person serving you. Crucial interaction point.
And finally, the paperwork. Bill check. We already discussed the difference, but knowing both is useful. It signals the end of the transaction.
So mastering just those 6 or so terms gives you the basic framework. But seeing it all work together in the example conversation at the Sunny Cafe is really where the magic happens.
Agreed. That example dialogue is like a mini masterclass. Should we break it down quickly?
Yeah, let's do it. Waiter starts. Hello, welcome to Sunny Cafe. How many people? Customer. Just one, please. Bam. Efficient, polite.
Waiter offers a choice. Would you like to sit at the bar or by the window? Customer expresses preference politely. By the window, please. Clear agency, still polite.
Waiter returns, cues the ordering phase. Are you ready to order? Customer responds confidently. Yes, I'll have the pasta and a glass of orange juice. Using that, I'll have.
Direct order, food and drink together. Waiter confirms and checks for finality. Great choice. Anything else? Customer closes firmly. No, that's all. Thank you. Polite closure.
Then that little relational touch from the waiter, enjoy your meal, shifts from pure transaction for a moment.
And then later, the customer needs to pay. They initiate correctly. Excuse me, can I have the bill, please? Excuse me, even here.
Good catch. Reinforces that role.
Yeah.
And the interaction ends with simple gratitude. Thank you very much.
It's almost deceptively simple, isn't it? The whole interaction flows so smoothly just by stringing together maybe 7 or 8 core phrases and structures correctly, always with please and thank you.
Which brings us to the final crucial part of the guide, the practice prescription. It doesn't just give you the theory, it tells you how to actually learn it.
Right. Actionable steps. First one, watch English videos about restaurants. Listen and repeat. This is about tuning your ear and practicing the sounds, the intonation.
Then vital, practice with a friend. Role play being the waiter and the customer.
Cannot stress this one enough. Role-playing takes the pressure off. You can make mistakes, try things out, build muscle memory for the phrases without the anxiety of a real restaurant situation.
Next up, learn 5-10 new food words every week. Directly tackles that menu minefield problem. Build that vocabulary gradually.
Makes navigating the menu less daunting over time. And the final step, the goal.
Visit real restaurants and try using English. Put the practice into action.
That's the real test, right? Taking that structured knowledge and applying it in a live, dynamic environment. Overcoming that initial fear of speaking is the win.
It really is a complete system, isn't it? Structure, key phrases, politeness rules, vocabulary building, and crucially, practice. It addresses the anxiety by providing a clear, manageable path. Hashtag tagged, hashtag outro. So there we have it. We've gone through the entire restaurant journey, piece by piece, looking at the language needed for each step from walking in to ordering, managing the meal, and paying. It really highlights how having that clear structure can build confidence.
Absolutely. This guide is excellent at providing the tools for what we could call transactional success in a restaurant setting. It gives you the language to navigate the expected flow smoothly and politely.
And the core advice woven throughout is key. Practice every day, listen carefully, and don't be afraid to speak. Using these sentences, this structure really does help you sound more confident, more polite, and makes it much easier for the staff to understand and help you.
Yeah, it covers the ideal scenario perfectly, where everything goes according to plan. You use, excuse me, can I have please, thank you, and you have a successful interaction.
Which leads us perfectly into that final provocative thought for you, our listeners, to maybe think about after this deep dive.
Right. We've mastered the language for when things go right, but what about when they go wrong? Imagine your main course arrives and it's just completely incorrect. You ordered the steak, they brought the fish.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that happens.
How would you take the tools we've discussed today, the politeness mandate, the clarity needed for things like allergies, the use of, excuse me, as an interrupter, maybe combining can I or could you with a direct statement of the problem? How would you use only this framework to handle that situation? How do you correct a mistake clearly and effectively, but still politely, without causing offense, using the very principles laid out in this guide?
Hmm, that's a great challenge. Applying the politeness framework to problem solving, that really is the next level, isn't it?
It is something for you all to consider next time you're practicing or role playing. How do you adapt these tools when the script goes off plan?
Excellent food for thought. Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the language of dining out.
We really hope breaking down this structure helps you feel much more prepared and confident for your next restaurant visit in English.